Hashtag Vivek Ramaswamy takes down Caitlin Collins on hashtag CNN. Love the titling. Love the rip on this. I think Vivek is the rising star. I don't think that he will like end up winning anything, obviously, for the reasons I've stated time and time again. Most important one being that he is an Indian man running in the Republican primaries. And of course, Republicans are still going to have a lot of racist hangups towards that sort of thing. But he is very clever. He's a bit like the Pete Buttigieg, but not really, because I think Pete Buttigieg spoke in circles. Vivek is smart enough to tell you, he's smart enough to be like, I hate woke culture. You know what I mean? Like he does a good job articulating his positions, but he also very clearly would tell you like what he thinks is what the crowd wants to hear.
But if we're doing a comprehensive assessment of what happened on 9/11, we have a 9/11 commission. Absolutely, there should be an answer the public knows the answer to. Explain to me what you meant there.
This is really, it's funny. I mean, The Atlantic is playing the same game as CNN. It's funny. What I said is on January 6th, I do believe that there were many federal agents in the field and we deserve to know who they are. On 9/11, what I've said is that the government lied. And this is incontrovertible evidence, Caitlin. The government lied about Saudi Arabia's involvement. There was a Saudi spy named al-Bayoumi who they lied, and the government lied, and the 9/11 Commission lied. We know that because declassified reports in 2021 revealed that al-Bayoumi was indeed.
But are you telling me that your quote is wrong here because it says how many federal agents were on the plane at the Twin Towers?
Yeah, when I actually, and this is just lifting the curtain on how media works again, I asked that reporter to send the recording because it was on the record. He refused to do it. But we had a free-flowing conversation. The truth is there are lies the government has told about 9/11, but it's not the ones that somebody put in my mouth. It's the one that I articulated, which is that Saudi Arabia, absolutely, their intelligence was involved in 9/11. And that's a difficult thing you're not supposed to say. The facts back that up. Separately, as it relates to January 6th, same story all over again. There were federal agents in the field. I think they've lied about how many there were, and we, the people, deserve the truth.
But you were asked another time recently about whether or not 9/11 was an inside job. This is what your response was.
9/11 inside job or exactly how the government tells us?
Okay, this is sad because like they're just making him more likable. Like, what's happening? What the fuck is CNN doing?
I don't believe the government has told us the truth. Again, I'm driven by evidence and data. What I've seen in the last several years is we have to be skeptical of what the government does tell us. I haven't seen evidence to the contrary, but do I believe everything the government told us about it? Absolutely not.
I mean, Vic, I think people look at those comments. They look at what you said in the Atlantic, which you say you were misquoted. They look at comments that you've made about the Federal Reserve adding zeros to media companies' bank accounts. And I mean, it looks like you're floating conspiracy theories with this defense of I'm just asking questions.
Well, when you actually quote me, those are my words, and I stand by them. So somebody else quoting me, putting words in my mouth, I have a problem with. But those words I stand by. You want to know why? Because we literally know the FBI, the 9/11 Commission, the U.S. government on down told us specifically that Saudi Arabia had no involvement. 20-plus years later, quietly declassifying documents showing that not only did Saudi Arabia have involvement, it was a Saudi intelligence agent that received two of those terrorists that crashed planes on 9/11, killing Americans.
But the question was, is 9/11 an inside job? And you didn't say no.
Caitlin,
that's what I think people are looking at.
Caitlin, you know what's really funny? You literally just played that, and you could play it for your audience again. He said, or do you believe everything the government has told us? And my answer was, I do not believe everything the government has told us
but you see
because
the
they lied.
The point is
and
that
I know
it leaves
this game
the door
comes up,
open.
Caitlin, every time there's an outsider who comes in.
It leaves the door open, Vivek. It leaves the door open, and someone who's
Caitlin,
a 9/11 truther
we
looks
have a
at that and
government that
says, that's exactly
lies.
what I believe.
It's kind of wild because he's just better on camera in a contentious manner than little Rhonda is. He is getting cooked right now by Caitlin Collins, especially in the way that like CNN and liberal media journalists love putting on their fucking journalist hat on when it's like often going against whatever the State Department has told us. They're so good at ripping people to shreds, and he's still doing a decent job defending himself. When I say cooking him, I don't mean like she's doing a great job dissecting her statements. What I mean is she's immediately, and I would say flagrantly contentious, which these guys never are, no matter who they're talking to. You don't see CNN get this way until it's someone that they have chosen to unload on. Like, you rarely ever see CNN be this combative. Maybe she's grilling him because she thinks he's bullshit candidate and they don't care because they think he's like a clout shark like Andrew Yang and he's not going to win. And then he'll come on the show regardless of how aggressive they are. It's a weird thing to discuss as a Republican. Not really. Post-Trump, they went sour on Bush, remember? Trump attacked Bush and said that Bush was wrong for Iraq. This is what people wanted news orgs to do since 2016, isn't it? Yeah, it is. And they do it. They do it all the time. The problem is they only do it to like Bernie Sanders, who's an outsider, or they do it to people like fucking Vivek Ramaswamy. And they don't have this kind of energy for, I don't know, when some spokesperson says Havana syndrome is real. Wait, what? Oh, that's awesome. Ramaswamy was already a millionaire. When he accepted Soros Award, he said he needed to pay for law school. Bro, oh, they're coming after him. Dude, Fox News. Whoa. This is perhaps the greatest proof, in my opinion, that they're worried about how well he's doing in the polls. That is actually fucking nutso. What is happening? No, they aren't. Lamau. I mean, he is. He's pumping in the polls. I don't think he'll win because he's too brown, but what do you mean he's not an entity now? What are you talking about? If we're looking at the race and we're looking at numbers, Vivek Ramaswamy is close, is like in striking distance of little Rhonda, and in some instances he's number 2. So what do you mean?
But there's a difference in asking questions about Saudi Arabia's involvement and the government's involvement and then pushing this idea that whenever what your comment about who was on the plane, and then was 9/11 an inside job where you did not say no earlier. That's why it's important to clarify those comments, because otherwise it feels like you're towing the line when it comes to conspiracy theories.
Caitlin, I am guilty as charged that I do not follow the establishment super PAC donor-approved script on these questions, but I am speaking truth, grounded in fact, at every step of the way, and that's what's really elicited something of an anaphylactic reaction.
It's pretty funny. Yeah, he was created by a PAC. Yeah, it's pretty funny when Vivek fucking talks about, like, I'm not bought and paid for by super PACs. It's like, bitch, what do you mean? You are literally bought and paid for by super PACs. Oh, Vivek Ramaswamy talking about visiting Putin and turning parts of Ukraine over to Russia? What the fuck?
Vivek Ramaswamy.
I'm approaching my debate strategy a little bit differently. I think many times if you don't have a message, you look to attack other candidates. I'm preferring to stand for my own message, asking the question.
And apparently his message is what? Giving over parts of Ukraine? I love this because, like, we'll see how this goes. Like I've said already, speaking about Ukraine, like beyond what Donald Trump has said, is so dumb. It is not a winning message no matter what. Because you're going to piss people off no matter what you fucking say about Ukraine. That's why Donald Trump always is like, I'll end it. I'll end it. I'll have one conversation and I'll end it. Anything beyond that, and you're going to get fucking cooked. You're going to get eviscerated. You're going to get annihilated. There's no reason to ever bring it up.
Let's talk about China. You talked about China. You proposed to radio host Hugh Hewitt this week that the U.S. should help Taiwan deter a Chinese invasion until the U.S. has achieved, quote, semiconductor independence. Does it really serve our long-term interests to say we support territorial integrity until a country is no longer useful to us?
I think that moving from strategic ambiguity to strategic clarity is actually a good thing for the United States to both advance our interests and to avoid war, as well as to be a more trusted partner. I don't think it's credible when we make hollow proclamations to defend democracy or to defend territorial sovereignty as a principle, when in fact we choose that principle selectively anyway. I think it's far more credible for us to be honest.
China can invade Taiwan after 2028 if I'm elected.
What I'm bringing to our foreign policy is honesty that will advance our interests. I'm moving from strategic ambiguity to be strategically very clear that we will defend Taiwan until we achieve semiconductor independence.
This is such a funny fucking take because it's like, again, who's this for is the question you have to ask. Like, what are you doing? I feel like you are trying to tailor this messaging to like globe heads on Twitter. Like dudes with a globe emoji on their fucking profiles or something, where it's like, that's right, I'm going to go against like decades long US policy on China is two different two systems, one country, and I'm just going to do it specifically for the semiconductor production, and I'm going to throw that in the ground. Like you're completely losing everybody because one, it's fucking boring. Quite frankly, most Americans don't even think about this unless they're like really, really invested. Just say fuck China and move on. Americans don't hate China because they want to give Taiwan independence, you fucking idiot. Like no one gives a shit about that. Americans hate China because they're Asian and they're threatening American hegemonic power. You have completely missed the mark if you're like, I'm riding for Taiwanese independence. Like if you personally understand as a Republican that America's interest in Ukraine is iffy, like the American voter base's interest in Ukraine is so iffy that you can get away with saying insane shit like, I'm just going to give parts of Ukraine over to Russia, okay? Which, by the way, again, really awful way to message around this. It just doesn't make any sense that he would turn around and say, yeah, you know, I care about Taiwanese independence. Like, no one in America gives a fuck. It's just like they hate Chinese people. Yeah, we care about Taiwan because we hate China, not the other way around. I know exactly.
Taiwan spends less than 2% of GDP on its military. That is shameful. Taiwan needs to be spending over 4% of its own GDP.
Brother, the question to you is, are you running for office in Taiwan? Like, I know that as the United States of America, he's not, like, we have a tremendous amount of power over what Taiwan does. Okay, we do. But it's just funny that he's like running to what? Fucking increase Taiwanese budgets for their own, like increase Taiwan's very own budgets for their own defense against China. Like, what the fuck? None of this fucking makes sense. I don't know. I don't know who this is for. Like, I don't understand the argument that he's making, but I also don't really understand who the fuck is like, oh, thank God, I'm a Republican primary voter, and now I know Ramaswamy's take on Taiwanese right to self-defense. No one cares. Am I wrong? I feel like people don't give a shit about that. Beyond semiconductor development, sure, but also you're taking a position on foreign policy and you're doing it in a way where you're like openly stating certain things that you're not supposed to. There's a reason why, since Nixon, what the American government officially says about China versus what it actually does when it comes to policy is entirely different. I've heard that he wants, what was it? He wants everyone in Taiwan to have a gun or something. That's what I've heard. Is that real? Because I feel like he's just like a secret mainland China operative who wants to destroy Taiwan from within. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, he did. That's so funny. Dude, I love that. Thank you, Vivek. GOP presidential candidate calls for guns in every Taiwanese household to prevent Chinese invasion. He's like, we want more Taiwanese school shootings to happen. This will certainly defend Taiwan and Taiwan's interests. Like, I don't think Vivek is trying to win. I think he knows. He's smart enough to know that he's not gonna win, right? So let's say he's going for a cabinet position. What cabinet position is he getting for this kind of foreign policy?
And China will also know that it is absolutely not in China's interest. Not any rational actor in China would want to make that move before 2028. In the meantime, what am I gonna do? Achieve semiconductor independence for our nation, and also build up our own homeland defense capabilities.
Wait, hold on. He's misunderstood it. No, I think he's saying Taiwan's on his own. Like right now, we're just, I'll hold in a posture as we move up our semiconductor manufacturing capabilities, and then I'm fucking selling Taiwan down the river. Oh no, that still doesn't. Okay, first of all, that also doesn't make sense. I feel like this is why I said mentioning this kind of foreign policy in clear terms is like dumb, because I don't think Americans give a shit. He's like, yeah, Taiwan needs to defend itself. We're done defending Taiwan. Taiwan will defend itself once we figure out our semiconductor facilities here in America.
There are two reasons why China might go after Taiwan. One is to lord over an economic gun over the United States. I refuse to let that happen. But a second is sorting out business dating back to 1949 between Chiang Kai-shek and Mao Zedong. That's not something that I'm going to send our sons and daughters to settle.
God damn it. I can't believe I'm saying this. I mean, he's on its face, he's not wrong, but also I don't know if this is a popular take. Who is he trying to win over? Like, is he trying to appeal to like the 8 MAGA communists or something? Like, who the fuck? Who's even voting that cares about this? I hope he becomes Secretary of State. This would be so fucking funny. Maoist third world is Vivek. Like, no, I misunderstood. He actually isn't even tailoring this conversation towards Reddit, because Redditors care about like Taiwanese independence. Reddit hates China and therefore cares about Taiwanese independence because like they've been geared towards not a negative perspective on China, because you can't say, especially if you're a liberal, you can't say like fuck China, I hate China. You have to say I hate China because they're doing this or that. I hate China because they're fucked up on Taiwan. I hate China because they're trying to take over the South China Sea. I hate China because of the treatment of Uyghurs in Xinjiang, right? Like you can't just like say, I hate China because they are threatening America's hegemonic power position. Like no one's going to fucking say that. He's like way too honest about Taiwan's situation. I don't know what he would win by saying like, you know, we're going to withdraw support from Taiwan. We're going to pump Taiwan with guns and then we're going to withdraw support altogether. You know, let God sort it out.
I think that the Biden administration is so stubbornly attached to the idea of getting Xi Jinping to drop Vladimir Putin. What I think we need to be doing is get Vladimir Putin to drop Xi Jinping. Just like Nixon went to China in 1972. I think Putin is like the new Mao. I will visit Moscow and I will pull Russia out of its military alliance with China.
Bro, he's on crack, dude. That's so awesome.
Hypersonic missile capabilities, nuclear capabilities in Russia, far ahead of us or China. A naval capacity in China ahead of ours, combined with an economy that we depend on for our modern way of life. Those two nations are in a military alliance with one another, and nobody in either political party is talking about it.
Okay, I take it back. He's awesome. His foreign policy takes are fucking incredible. He is like I can't. Is this? I don't know. This is like we've hit new levels of foreign policy commentary. I don't even know. I've never even heard like. I guess this is like kind of a Tucker Carlson approach, which is that like we are going to give parts of Ukraine to Russia and then we're going to use Russia against China. Like, why the fuck would Russia do that? I don't even know what the fuck he's saying here, to be honest with you. I'm confused. He's too smart for me to understand. My caveman brain doesn't comprehend why he's saying these things. There's two reasons why I'm confused by it. Because on the one hand, I'm like, why the fuck is he saying this? Like, why the fuck is he saying these things? And secondly, who is he saying these things for? Just say you want Russia to lose and you want China to lose, right? Isn't that what you're supposed to say that, right? I don't think the hogs give a shit that much about Russia. I think at the end of the day, yeah, sure, there's like a lot of WhatsApp, Telegram groups that have like broken boomers' brains about how Vladimir Putin is like a based defender of Christian rights or something, right? But those guys are tiny. Like they're so marginal. Other than like the far right who don't really vote and don't necessarily have the numbers to vote, I don't think you're going to win over the broader American majority by being like, we're going to defend Russia. There is too much Red Scare and too much anti-communist propaganda for Americans to unmarry Russia from the USSR and communism in general. Like, they don't give a fuck. They hate Russia. Most Americans hate Russia. They like Putin's anti-gay views, though. Yeah, that doesn't matter. Okay, like, there are countries in Africa that also have staunch anti-gay views, which ironic because some of them are carryovers from, missionaries and Western involvement. But I won't even get into that. Do you think Americans give a fuck about like, I don't know, an African nation, like aligning with an African nation because they're fucking anti-gay? I can give you an example where we don't give a fuck. The Taliban. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, Americans don't give a fuck. They don't care one way or the other. They don't give a shit if it's not happening in front of them, and they don't give a shit if it's not being used as a justification to like invade from a liberal perspective. Does that make sense? Because remember, this is another HasanAbi trope. Conservatives hate conservatism in other countries. That's why Ben Shapiro will say identical shit to what the Taliban would say, and then or ISIS would say, and then simultaneously be like, and ISIS is so barbaric. They're throwing gays off the roofs. I'm like, Ben, you would do that. If you had the opportunity, you would do that. Like, you advocate for a future where you can do that. You know what I mean? What the fuck do you mean? Vivek made, you're right, Vivek is another Trump. His pitch is, I'm a self-made billionaire business guy, son of immigrants and political outsider that attacks other candidates well and treats incredibly complex geopolitics like it's simple shit. He's brown Trump with a hard-to-spell name, except he's not like Trump at all. Not only because he's brown, but also because he is actually an unknown entity. Due to him being an unknown entity, he will get a little bit of boost every single time he's on television like this, especially if he keeps riding the Trump line. Do you understand? However, here's the issue. Donald Trump isn't just a billionaire businessman that people were like, oh, I love that you're a businessman. You're so brilliant. Donald Trump played a businessman on television. If anything, Donald Trump was an incredibly unsuccessful businessman. He got bankrupt 7 fucking times. It's what the Americans perceived of him. He was a telegenic, charismatic TV con man. He was a businessman on television for decades. He had a tremendous amount of popularity that he could drive from. Someone like Vivek doesn't have that. He's a pharmaceutical CEO. Get the fuck out of here. He was a Silicon Valley tech guy. No shot does he get that same level of approach, same level of positivity that Donald Trump was able to tap into. So him trying to pull the Donald Trump shit is not going to work in the same way that it worked for Donald Trump. So always remember that. Americans don't give a fuck about like a wealthy businessman, especially if that wealthy businessman is successful at business. They care about the aesthetics of the wealthy businessman. Vivek Ramaswamy is trying to do Trump just like Pete Buttigieg was trying to do Obama. Pete Buttigieg was like, listen, I'm gay Obama. Didn't work. Vivek Ramaswamy is trying to do, I'm brown Trump. Not going to work. It will work in the short term, though, because Trump's base of support loves a guy who's playing the role of stand-in against other people. Also ironic because gay Obama is Obama. Fucking got him, dude. Obama. Obama! Sorry. Vivek is probably going to have his own podcast after this election. Pretty much. I foresee that as well. I agree. Won't be able to do the Trump as well as the OG. I was just offering an explanation for why his numbers from last night were good. He pitched rhyme with Trump, but because of all the reasons you mentioned, I suspect that this will be his peak. No, but Vivek is, unlike Donald Trump, an over-explainer. Vivek doesn't have Donald Trump's telegenic charisma. He is more charismatic than the other people, but he comes across like a fucking dork when he's trying to over-explain certain lines, okay? A lot of people on Twitter were saying, he's basically like he's like a model UN kid. And I kind of see that. I don't know how well the Republican primaries will respond to that, especially when Trump is right there. You know what I mean? It's just not going to work. It's just never going to work. I mean, I don't think any of these guys have a shot at destroying Donald Trump. Let's be fucking real. Donald Trump is still leading by massive margins, right? But if we're eliminating Trump from the equation, is Vivek better than all these other candidates? Is he more charismatic? I don't think so, but the only thing he does well is he rides Trump's dick way harder than anybody else. And I think in an isolated vacuum like this, that's the reason why people have better opinions of Vivek Ramaswamy than Donald Trump. Now, when people say he's going to become Trump's vice president, to them I say, abso-fucking-lutely not. You are out of your mind. You are delulu. You are crazy. Why don't you think he could be Trump's VP? Because, here, I'll give you the simple one. I'll give you the simple answer. His last name is Ramaswamy. Ramaswamy is going to be Trump Ramaswamy, like vote for Trump Ramaswamy. Are you out of your fucking mind? You think racist ass Republicans, especially the most important base of support for Republicans, the white evangelical Protestants, who are literally now the Westboro Baptist Church, by the way. They behave exactly like the Westboro Baptist Church. Those guys are going to look at an Indian man with the last name Ramaswamy, who is like a WEF guy, who is, who's gotten a George Soros grant, which people have been able to hand wave away so far. That's great. Fine. But in the general, you think they're going to look at a guy like that and go, yeah, I guess we'll reluctantly vote for him because Trump thinks he's good? Fuck no.
Is that a hand raise?
You do not.
I think it was a hand raise for him, and it's my hands are in my pockets.
No, I didn't raise a hand.
Let us be honest.
I think that was a hand raise for him. My hands were in my pockets. Okay, dude, you are such a fucking brown-nosing teacher's pet motherfucker. Oh my God. The more I went back to this debate, the more I started to get annoying with fucking Vivek. One, because like everything he said was really, really annoying. But two, I feel like he's just trying too hard. He's too much of a fucking tryhard, man. I don't know if fucking Republicans are gonna respond all that positively if he keeps laying it on this thick.
As Republicans, I'm the only person on the stage who isn't
he is
so
male
I can say
Pete.
this. The climate change agenda is a hoax. The climate change agenda is a hoax. And we have to...
And he did it in a wishy-washy way where he said the climate change agenda is a hoax. He didn't say climate change is a hoax. That's what Donald Trump had said. He said the climate change agenda is a hoax. That is going to be his way of weaseling out of that take so that he can have his cake and eat it too.